Hello, and welcome to the No Nonsense channel, where we evaluate, educate, and elevate each other about the journey of mental illness on the journey to mental wellness. My name is Melissa Swearigan. I would like to say thank you to all my subscribers and all my new subscribers. Today I will be speaking about a term called trauma bonding. The term trauma bonding was coined by a counselor named Patrick Crimes. It defined as misuse of fear, excitement, sexual feelings, and sexual psychology to entangle another person. Trauma bonding occurs when a narcissist repeats a cycle of abuse with another person, which fuels a need for validation and love from the person being abused. Trauma bonding often occurs in romantic relationships. However, it also can occur in relationships with colleagues, non family members, and friends. The narcissist will condition someone into believing that these toxic behaviors are normal. As the bonding deepens, the person being abused will feel more and more like they need validation from the abuser, giving the abuser even more power over them to manipulate them, to further manipulate them. Oftentimes, it takes months, even up to years, to realize that you are in this type of toxic relationship. As for me, it took 25 years, 25 plus years. That's why it's important to understand why trauma bonding occurs and what are the common signs. Common risk factors are it can happen to anyone, but easy prey would be someone with a poor mental health, a low self esteem, which that's what I had, financial difficulties, no support system, past trauma, and history of being bullied, or a person who lacks their own personal identity. A sign that a bond might be forming through trauma, the relationship may be moving at an accelerated pace. You feel very close to the person, like you've known them forever, and you make huge life changes for a relatively new relationship. You put time and effort into the romantic relationship at the cost of other relationships, like your family and any other friendships and other relationships. You have extreme fear of leaving this relationship, not knowing how would you do it, or would anything happen to you, would they do anything to you if you tried to leave. You feel like they could probably be the only one that can emotionally feel you because you feel like they know you. Trauma bonding makes you psychologically addicted to the abuser. This explains why going no contact feel like you're trying to recover from a drug addiction. Trauma bonding involves cycles of abuse. One minute the abuser will be cruel to you, then they will turn around and butter you up with apologies. Trauma bonding is unhealthy and can never turn into a healthy relationship, no matter how bad the one being abused wish it could, even though it's often mistaken for love. But when you're in love, you wouldn't be going through cycles of mentally being diminished or sometimes physically hurt. While trauma bonding, the abused victim develops affection and sympathy for the abuser. That's what you call Stockholm Syndrome. It's a specific type of trauma bond. The reason for trauma bonding is the feelings of attachment and dependence can contribute to that. The attachment is when the abused person turns to the abuser for comfort, even if the discomfort was caused by the abuser. And you tend to have a dependence on them. When you depend on them to fulfill your emotional needs, this is what you call the cycle of abuse. When they're constantly doing this over and over and yet promising to change. Other situations that could cause a trauma bond can occur in is domestic violence relationships, child abuse, incest, elder abuse, exploitative employment, kidnapping or hostage taking, human trafficking, or even religious extremists or cults, military training, political torture, and concentration camps. Trauma bonded codependent is a coping mechanism for a traumatic situation in which you feel loyalty to the dependence on the abuser. One minute they treat you bad, then go back to the cycle of loving and caring for you, keeping you on this hamster wheel. But Wellgood says that trauma bonding relationships take shape due to the body's natural stress response. When you become stressed, your body activates your sympathetic nervous system and your limbic system. That's the part of the brain that regulates emotions and motivates behaviors like hunger and sexuality. This activation is commonly known as the fight or flight stress response. When the sympathetic activation is in control, the part of the brain that does things like long-term planning and risk analysis in your prefrontal cortex are shut off. Dr. Powell says they're not able to be effective because our brain be focused on just getting us through the trauma. And also today with the COVID going on, it's hard to spot all this trauma bonding because the pandemic itself has caused a form of collective trauma bond. Dr. Powell also says because there's a very real threat of death or long-term disability from just leaving your house. To survive the threat, we're isolated without seeing our friends and family for weeks and months at a time. But since, as they say, this is not how humans are designed to operate, the dramatic has allowed for trauma bonding relationships to crop up. As you can see, trauma bonding is often seen as love, but it's not. But here are 10 steps to recovering from a toxic trauma bond. First, you need to find a therapist that deals with trauma or PTSD. You need to make a commitment to live in reality. No more woulda, coulda, shoulda. Live in real time. Stop holding on to all the what ifs. What if I would have stayed? What if it get better? Live one decision at a time and one day at a time. Because some people scar themselves when they have the attitude of thinking all or nothing. Make decisions that only supports your self-care. And what I mean, I'm not saying being selfish. I'm saying make decisions that doesn't hurt you. Start feeling your emotions. Take time to write them down. Take time to feel it and take it in. Learn to grieve, acknowledge it, accept it, and learn to move from it. Understand the hook. Identify with what you are actually losing. Write a list of your bottom line behaviors for yourself down, like things you would like to change or things that you would like to cut out. Build your life little by little by making healthier choices. And build healthier connections. Build connections with people that are not centered around drama. So this is about the term called trauma bonding. So be sure that you are actually in love and not just being trauma bonded to someone. Know the signs, recognize the signs, and deal with things accordingly. Thank you. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please take the time to do so now as we go on this journey to get mentally healthy. Thank you.